I am here with your John Deere 828 snowblower, and I just wanted to go over the service items with you. So what I've done so far is I've completed the check over of the machine just to see if there was any issues before I complete the part where I do the oil change and the adjustments and lubrication and all that sort of thing, making sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. So let's see, we'll start here at the front and we'll continue on to the back end. As part of the service, I'll adjust your skid shoe height, making sure that your scraper bar doesn't make contact with the ground, because of course it's not supposed to. It's always supposed to ride a little bit above. I made sure you have the proper shear bolts in place, which you do. I will grease the grease fittings on your auger shaft on both sides, because it has 4 grease nipples. Your impeller bearings or your auger bearings are okay. There's no issues with those. Sometimes these will get wore out a little bit and people don't notice. I checked your impeller bearing, just a slight amount of slide play in it, but it may not be an issue. I'll know more about that part of it after I start and run the machine. I also have a John Deere snowblower. Mine's a 1032, and it has a little bit of side play in the impeller shaft as well, and I haven't had any issues with it as of yet. But for sure I need to run it and hear it operating before I can say for sure on that part. So, dry hand. Well, almost dry, because I did this a few minutes ago. Anyway, checked your gear case fluid, and I noted that the fluid is down a little bit in the gear case. Didn't see that there's any water in it, but of course the gear case hasn't been running, so if there was water, it would be laying down on the bottom, and I wouldn't really notice. Usually the way you tell if you have water in it is it mixes together with the oil, and the oil just becomes milky. So have to run that and see if that does have water in it or not. The reason I'm saying that is because if you wipe your hand on the bottom of the gear case, and I probably wiped a lot of it away now, you can see that my hand's coming away shinier, and that's because there's oil been seeping. And there was a big drop on the bottom of it. It's probably been hanging there for quite a while. So either the seal on this side or both of them have been seeping for a while. And sometimes these little caps on the end will seep a little bit too. But the oil level is down here normally, no higher than that, usually no higher than that screw hole. And I know the machine's been sitting for a time, so I'm not really too concerned that it's the cap out here. I'm thinking more that it's your seals on either side, because they're more down at where the oil level would be. Let's see. The auger housing itself is in pretty good shape. There's no real problem with that. It looks almost as good as the day it came out of the showroom. I wish mine looked as good. And your augers themselves are all in good condition. The rotator chute, part of the service, I'll lubricate the hinge on the deflector and the rotator and the little gear and all the little universal joint down here. I'll make sure all the squeakies are gone and everything's working the way it's supposed to. The cables all look like they're in good condition. There's none of them have any. Didn't notice that any of them have any cracked housings or anything like that. I'll lubricate up your controls, make sure that they all work the way they're supposed to, and everything's adjusted. Adjust the cables if they need to be done for your auger and your drive levers for engaging both of those. I'll also change your engine oil. Put new 5W30 engine oil. The oil is included with the service. And I'll also remove your spark plug, check the gap, and clean the plug up. Not very often I have to put a new plug in. If it does come to that, I'll just let you know. It's not a lot for a plug anyway. Your muffler's not loose. Didn't notice any problem there. Did note that your recoil rope and your handle are missing, so that I would recommend replacing those. It's always good to have that backup. The electric start does work fine. It does roll the engine over okay. I set your tire pressure already to 20 psi. Just to make sure that they hold air okay, and I didn't note that there was any severe weather cracking or anything like that on them. Inspected your drive and your auger belts. So for both of those, I'm going to recommend that you replace them. And I don't know if I can get this to focus in here. Sometimes I can. You can see that they're getting age cracked, and it would be time right now before you get into the big part of the winter to replace those before you get into a spot where they're broken on you. You can actually see where that auger belt on one side is frayed. And usually what I do is I rotate the engine over with the auger handle engaged, so that I can look at see if there's any hourglassing or any issues like that with the belts. But I'm not able to do that because of the missing recoil start, and the electric start does it too fast for me to be able to look them over well. But the age cracking is definitely enough to want to get both of those replaced. All your pulleys look okay. Everything seems to spin okay the way they're supposed to. When I remove that drive belt later on, I'll make sure that pulley, the bearing's okay in this one, because of course it has tension on it, and there's a spring that keeps that riding against your drive belt. Next, so you can see here in the top where a few times somebody spilt some oil, or this little O-ring may be leaking inside down in here a little bit. Good way to keep an eye on that. Once again, every once in a while, just pull your dipstick out, check and see if your oil looks milky. New oil mixed with water is going to sort of look like creamy coffee. It'd be the best way to describe it. So we won't say that you need a new O-ring in here yet. It may be just a case where somebody spilt some oil. I also noticed some down over the front of the case, and you can see down here underneath the front of the engine that it's oily down here too as well. Once again, we're not going to say that the seal's bad here yet in the front engine case. Just keep an eye, and if you notice new oil, I'll try to wipe this out and keep it clean and clean it out as well as I can. And just something that you can keep an eye on yourself as you're running it. If you notice that it's starting to get wet there again, then definitely pretty soon we're going to have to replace that engine seal as well. Let's see. So, not able to run the snowblower at all. It will not start. The nice lady that I picked it up from said it had been sitting for a while. It did work very well the last time she used it, and she said it has not been used this winter. And I didn't catch if she said it had been used last winter or the winter before. So you'll have to find out that part about it yourself, or you probably already know. Anyway, fuel in the machine is very, very stale. It's gone back to its old. It's getting plasticky. There's not a lot of fuel in it, but there's enough in it that it should start up. The fuel valve was left on. What I usually recommend for people, especially for summertime storage for a snowblower, turn that fuel valve off to the off position when the engine's running and let it run out of gas. You're better off to have a carburetor that's empty of fuel than have to worry about problems with old fuel or water and the carburetor rusting it or anything like that. So I'm not sure if I can do this 100%, but I'm going to try. You can see I have a rag. It has one little brown spot on it right there, and I'm going to move it. And I'm going to prime the heck out of this because I've already done this. And I've got the snowblower tilted up, and hopefully a little bit of gas might decide to dribble out of that. We're not sure if that's going to happen or not, but we're going to try here. Try to tip that back enough. Sorry about the long-winded. No, it's not gonna cooperate with me. Sorry about that. I was able to do it outside. I could take you outside, and you could see in the snow the gas that came out. Oh, the little bit just came out. There it is. So that's what really old gas looks like. And what I have here is I have a jug of new gas. I haven't even had it that long. And I'm going to put a little bit of that on the rag, and you can see the difference in the two. So what happens is as fuel gets old and stale, it's sort of, people call it, say it smells like shellac or varathane or anything like that. So basically it reverts back to its original properties, and it gets thick and it gums up all the little orifices and passageways inside the carburetor, and makes it so that they won't start. And this fuel for sure is so old that it won't even let the machine fire up. So I'm going to recommend, there's a couple different things we can try. First thing, we're going to do the easy part. I'm going to remove all that old fuel, drain out the line, and I'm going to put new fuel in it. And I'm going to try and start it and see if it runs, and if it runs okay. If it runs okay, we won't have to go to step two. Step two would be either A, you replace the carburetor, or B, I'd remove the carburetor, disassemble it, and clean it. And for an aftermarket carburetor versus me cleaning the original carburetor, it's about the same price. So it's really up to you which way you'd want to be able to do that. But the first part, for sure, drain all that old fuel out, drain the fuel line out, and make sure that we have good fuel going into the carburetor. But I'm very skeptic about whether or not if it's going to run as well as it should, for sure. Anyway, let's see. I think that was all the issues that I found with it. I don't want to go add too. Oh, one other thing. I guess I've made another little video for you. I'm sorry they're so long-winded. It's just this machine's been sitting for a while, so it does have a few issues. Your friction disc rubber on your friction drive, the friction disc rubber plate, that should be replaced. It's age cracked, and there's chunks missing out of the center of it, so I'd recommend replacing that as well. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you along a little estimate and give you an idea so that you know how much all this will cost, including the service, and then you can decide and let me know what you would like to do. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.